True Crime Easter Special. The Missing Body. The Case of the Empty Tomb. It's Jerusalem, Passover week, approximately AD 30. The city was crowded, restless and watching. Roman soldiers lined the streets. Religious leaders whispered behind closed doors about the rumors spread about a man many believed could not be controlled. Jesus of Nazareth. He had predicted his own death, and more disturbingly, he had predicted his return. He said the Son of Man must be delivered, be crucified, and on the third day be raised again. Authorities moved quickly. He was arrested at night. He was tried before religious leaders, and he was handed over to the Roman governor, Pontius Pilate. Their objective? Finality. The crucifixion, you see, confirmed death. Roman executioners were professionals. They would scourge their victims, tear flesh from their bodies, and make them lose massive amounts of blood. Christ was scourged, and then he was forced to carry the crossbeam of his own execution. Then he was nailed to the wood, and hours passed. His breathing slowed. As witnesses watched, they saw the final confirmation. One of the soldiers pierced his side with a spear, and immediately blood and water came out. The movement, gone. No resistance. Jesus of Nazareth was pronounced dead. Case closed, or it should have been. Rome would not need to fear a political uprising. The priests would not need to worry of losing their power in the temples. Or so it seemed. But then there was the burial and the secured evidence. A council member stepped forward, Joseph of Arimathea. He made a request to take custody of the body. Soon the ritual cleansing of the corpse began. Jesus was thoroughly washed and cleaned. He was then anointed with perfumes and oils such as myrrh and aloe. This was followed by having his body wrapped in fine linen cloth. Finally, he was carried to his rock-cut tomb and placed inside. A massive stone was used to seal the entrance. Still, the fear that came from the way in which Jesus had been able to mobilize crowds was still fresh on the authorities' minds. And they were remembering something disturbing. Jesus' prediction, where he said, "After 3 days, I will rise again." So they escalated security. A Roman seal was placed on the stone, and armed guards were stationed outside the tomb. They needed to keep an official watch. The tomb was now a locked crime scene. No one was allowed in, and no one was allowed out. After 3 days, there was a massive discovery. Before sunrise, when it was still dark, Mary Magdalene approached the tomb. And what she saw changed everything. Early on the first day of the week, she saw that the stone had been removed from the entrance. She ran as fast as she could to the disciples and reported to them. They've taken the Lord out of the tomb, and we don't know where they have put him. Peter and John quickly raced to the site. Approaching the entrance, they looked inside and found evidence. Not chaos, not theft, but something stranger. He saw the stripes of linen laying there, and the cloth folded by itself. There was no body, no disturbance. There was no explanation. The tomb was just simply empty. The guards gave testimony. Matthew, the disciple, recorded what happened next. A violent disturbance. There was a violent earthquake. An angel of the Lord came down, rolled back the stone. The guards reacted. The guards were so afraid, they shook and became like dead men. Then came the cover story. Authorities paid the soldiers to remain silent about what had happened at the tomb. But more importantly, that Jesus was missing. You are to say his disciples came during the night and stole him away while we were asleep. That was the official message. But investigators noted they had a problem. Their witnesses were sleeping. The Roman seal was broken. The stone was moved. And there's no body. So that explanation, it simply didn't hold. Then came the sightings. The first reported sighting was from Mary Magdalene. Mary remained near the tomb. Then she saw someone. She thought he was the gardener until he spoke. Mary! She recognized that voice as Jesus. Shock set in. She reported, "I've seen the Lord," but authorities dismissed it. For Rome and these investigators, this was the most important investigation they'd ever been on. They left no stone unturned. They researched every piece of evidence they could find. They spoke to any witness who might have just the piece of information that they could use to find the body. Nothing was left to chance. But more reports followed. 2 travelers walked away from Jerusalem. A stranger happened to join them. They talked and discussed the crucifixion. Then, when they stopped later, they sat down for dinner. The stranger took bread, he broke it. Then their eyes were opened and they recognized him. But he vanished. They returned immediately to Jerusalem, reporting another sighting, another claim. They were bewildered by the idea that Jesus could truly be alive. Fearing further persecution by the Roman authorities and the temple priests, the disciples went into hiding. Doors were kept locked at all times. Their fear level was at a high, and the tension was increasingly thick. Then suddenly, Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." They thought they had seen a ghost. They reported that he answered directly, "Look at my hands and my feet. Touch me and see. A ghost does not have flesh and bones." Then he ate in front of them. They gave him a piece of broiled fish, and he took it and ate it. This time there were multiple witnesses. Still the same claim. Jesus was alive. Yet there were skeptics, even among Jesus' own disciples. One of their own refused to believe, Thomas, the disciple. He demanded physical proof. Unless I see the nail marks, I will not believe. A week later, Jesus appeared again, directly to Thomas. Put your finger here. Stop doubting and believe. Thomas's response, my Lord and my God. That skeptic was convinced. Another report came in about a fishing boat. The fishermen were out early one morning, and a figure stood on shore. And he called out to them, throw your net on the right side. You will find some. So the fishermen, they listened. They threw their nets out on the right side. The catch, 153 fish. While trying to pull the fish in, they almost capsized their boat. Then there was recognition. It's the Lord. He cooked them breakfast, spoke with them. He restored Peter. Another group sighting to be reported. Yet, Paul tells us that there was an even larger event that took place. He documented the most troubling claim of all. He said he appeared to more than 500 brothers at one time. 500 witnesses simultaneously. This was no longer rumor. This was a movement. 40 days of appearances. The sightings just didn't stop. They continued for weeks. After his suffering, he presented himself to them and gave many convincing proofs that he was alive. 40 days, multiple locations, multiple witnesses, consistent testimony. Leaving the Roman authority perplexed and searching for answers, they could find none that fit what they thought should have happened. The priesthood was left to assume that this was a plot intended to usurp their authority and carried out by zealous troublemakers who were dedicated to destroying the power of the priesthood and turning it against them. The final event, his disappearance. So here comes the last sighting. Outside Jerusalem, witnesses are all standing around and they're watching this event take place. What they see is Jesus being taken up before their very eyes, and a cloud hid him from their sight. Two figures appeared with a message, as if to taunt Rome. This same Jesus will come back in the same way. And just like that, he was gone. The Roman authorities and priesthood refused to give any credence to the idea that Jesus did rise again on the third day, as he promised. To do so would mean that an innocent man was murdered and potentially riling up the people across Judea. So they fell back on what the evidence they could justify told them. There's no body to be recovered, no crime solved, no confession, just evidence, a public execution, a sealed tomb, Roman guards, an empty grave, multiple witnesses, 40 days of sightings, and a disappearance into the sky. The authorities just called it rumor. Witnesses, on the other hand, called it resurrection. And history was never the same. The missing body was never found. The stone remained rolled away, and the tomb remains empty.